Hash the last photograph, she smiled, then disappeared forever. On the morning of August the 14th, 2009, a woman named Elena Marsh boarded a bus in the coastal town of Whitmore on the southern coast of England. She was 34 years old, 5 feet 6 inches tall, with shoulder-length auburn hair and a small scar near her left eyebrow, the result of a childhood fall from a bicycle. She carried a single leather shoulder bag, dark brown, containing her wallet, her phone, and a small digital camera. She was wearing a cream-colored linen blouse, navy trousers, and flat brown shoes. Witnesses would later describe her as looking relaxed, even content. Some would say she smiled at them. None would speak to her directly. Elena Marsh was traveling alone. She had told her sister, Sarah, that she needed time away, a short break to think, to clear her head. The sisters had spoken the night before her departure. Elena had been quiet, Sarah recalled, but not distressed. She had mentioned wanting to visit the cliffs at Dunwich, to see the old village church, to walk along the Shaw. She had not said how long she would be gone. That was the last time anyone in her family heard her voice. Whitmore is a town of approximately 4,000 residents, though during the summer months the population swells with visitors drawn to its shingle beach and its proximity to the Suffolk Heritage Coast. In August, the streets are busy but not crowded. The bus that Elena boarded ran twice daily between Whitmore and the village of Dunwich, a journey of 40 minutes along winding country roads flanked by fields of wheat and barley. The driver, a man named Peter Hancock, remembered the woman with the auburn hair. She had sat near the front, on the left side. She had taken a photograph through the window as the bus passed Henton Hill, where a stand of oak trees marks the highest point on the route. He recalled this because she had lowered her camera and glanced back, as if checking that she had captured the image properly. Peter Hancock was the last person to see Elena Marsh alive. The bus arrived in Dunwich at 11:47. The weather that day was overcast, with a light breeze coming from the northeast. The temperature was around 18 degrees Celsius, cool for August, but pleasant for walking. Elena disembarked alongside an elderly couple from Cambridge and a young man with a dog. She walked toward the village green, where a small car park and a public convenience mark the beginning of the coastal path. A woman named Margaret Finch, who ran the tea shop on the green, saw her pass. Elena had paused to look at a notice board displaying leaflets for local walks. She had not entered the shop. After that, the record becomes sparse. The investigation began 4 days later, when Elena failed to return home and her sister reported her missing. The police initially treated the case as a likely runaway, a grown woman who had simply decided not to come back. But something about Elena's circumstances gave detectives pause. She had left her apartment locked. She had paid her rent in advance. She had told her employer at the accounting firm where she worked that she would be back by the 20th. She had not withdrawn more than £40 from her bank account since arriving in Suffolk. Detective Inspector Rachel Vaughan, who led the initial inquiry, would later describe the case as unusual in its quietness. There were no signs of struggle at the bus stop, no witnesses to any altercation, no immediate evidence of foul play. But there was also no evidence that Elena Marsh had chosen to disappear. Her phone was never found. Her bank cards were never used. Her digital camera was never recovered. The photograph taken on the bus that morning would become the last known image of Elena Marsh alive. The picture showed the oak trees on Henton Hill beneath a gray sky. It was a straightforward landscape shot, well composed, the kind of image a tourist might take. But when forensic teams examined the camera's metadata, they discovered something unexpected. The image had been altered. Someone had edited it, cropping the frame, adjusting the contrast, and adding a small detail that had not been visible to the naked eye. In the lower right corner, partially obscured by shadow, there appeared to be a figure. The figure was distant, blurred, and could not be positively identified. But it was there. The question that immediately presented itself was this: had Elena Marsh taken the photograph, or had someone taken it for her? The camera had been purchased 3 weeks before her trip from a charity shop in Bristol. Its previous owner was unknown. Forensics found no fingerprints on its surface. It had been wiped clean. In the weeks that followed, police searched the area around Dunwich extensively. They interviewed residents, hotel owners, and the owners of the small boats that operated from the beach. They distributed leaflets and circulated Alina's photograph to police forces across the country. They received dozens of reported sightings, a woman matching her description in Norwich, another in Cambridge, a third in a village in Kent. None led anywhere. A breakthrough came in October when a retired schoolteacher named Arthur Penrose came forward with an account he had initially hesitated to share. On the afternoon of August the 14th, he had been walking his dog along the coastal path near the cliffs north of Dunwich. It was late afternoon, perhaps 5:30. The light was beginning to fade. He had seen a woman standing near the cliff edge, looking out toward the sea. She was wearing a cream-colored blouse. She appeared to be alone. He had continued walking and thought nothing more of it until he saw Alina's photograph in the newspaper. The cliffs at that point are chalk and clay, unstable, prone to erosion. In places, the path runs within meters of the edge. In winter, sections of the cliff have been known to collapse, sliding into the sea below. But the cliffs did not give up their dead that summer. No body was found. No remains were recovered. The search was called off in November, and Alina Marsh was officially classified as missing, presumed dead. The investigation never identified a suspect. Police looked into Alina's personal life, her finances, her relationships. They found no evidence of debt, no signs of coercion, no known enemies. She had ended a relationship 6 months before her disappearance, a man named Thomas Reeves, an architect from Bristol. Reeves cooperated fully with investigators. He had not seen Alina since the breakup and had an alibi for the weekend in question. He was eliminated from the inquiry. There was speculation, of course. Internet forums filled with theories, some plausible, others outlandish. Some believed Alina had fallen from the cliffs and her body had been carried out to sea. Others suggested she had encountered someone on that remote stretch of coast, someone who had persuaded her to leave with them. A few insisted she was still alive, that she had chosen to vanish, that the photograph was a message. The photograph. It haunted the case like a riddle without an answer. In 2012, 3 years after Alina's disappearance, the case was reviewed by the Cold Case Review Team. They re-examined the evidence, re-interviewed witnesses, and focused anew on the digital image. Their conclusion was cautious. The figure in the photograph could not be identified. The metadata anomaly could not be explained. The case remained unsolved. Alina Marsh's family maintained hope for years. Her mother, Patricia, kept her bedroom exactly as it had been, waiting for a daughter who never returned. Sarah Marsh continued to post messages on social media, pleading for information, for closure, for answers. In 2017, she spoke to a journalist from the BBC. She said only this: she still believes her sister is out there somewhere. She still checks the missing persons database every week, hoping for a face she recognizes. The photograph taken on the bus that August morning was never released to the public. It remains in the case file, sealed, viewed only by detectives and forensic analysts. But there is a copy, a single print, made by the original investigating officer, kept in a drawer in his home office. He looks at it sometimes, he has said, when he cannot sleep. He looks at the oak trees, the gray sky, the shadow in the corner, and he wonders. The figure in the photograph, was it a stranger watching? Was it someone Alina knew waiting for her at the end of that road? Or was it nothing at all, a trick of light, an error in the data, a ghost in the machine? On the morning of August the 14th, 2009, Alina Marsh smiled at a stranger on a bus, raised her camera, and captured an image that would never let go of her. What did she see through the lens? We may never know.